Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to everyone, all of us here in person, here in Tenleytown, Washington, D.C., Northwest, and everyone joining us online. I'm Hugh Byrne, and this is Regina Flanigan. Welcome. We're really, for me, it's a lot of joy being able to be together in this morning in the hybrid form, both in person and online. I was thinking just a few moments ago, I was feeling a little bit like Rip Van Winkle. 3 years ago, in the beginning of 2020, we moved from the Center for Mindful Living, moved this class on Sunday mornings because we were outgrowing the space. And we moved over here with the intention of just about a few blocks with the intention of have the Sunday morning class here, and a number of the folks who were part of setting that up, Ronnie and Barry and Margaret and Sharon and others here today as well. And we got things going, and we were getting a nice rhythm together, and then COVID hit. About 6 weeks in, we had 6 or 7 classes, I think, that's something like that. And then we've been online ever since. So this is coming back together in person, and it's lovely to be with everyone here, and also to have be with folks who we've been with online for the last 3 years. So welcome, everyone. The class is sponsored by the Insight Meditation Community Washington, IMCW, and also the Center for Mindful Living, which is part of IMCW. It's under the umbrella of IMCW, and many of you know we had a center just down the road, but we had to close that after a couple of years of COVID. But it's very, very vibrant and alive online, and more in person as well. So the theme, we're gathered together today for a mini retreat for 3 hours. The morning session will be hybrid till 11:45, and then we'll continue together in person till 1:30. The theme is finding peace in the midst of everything, finding peace in the midst of everything. And I think we all know what everything is like, having been through the last few years, and not just the last 3 years, but quite a number of years. So it's really is a joy to be with everyone in both here and online. And Regina, you want to say you're welcome? Your words of welcome.
Yeah. Well, it is really happy to be here, and it's delightful to see all of you in person. And I know many of you from online and on Wednesday mornings and Sundays, but to get to speak to you and see you in person is really a pleasure. So I welcome each of you. So when you're ready, please begin to settle into a posture that's comfortable for you. You might begin to drop awareness down into your feet. Beginning to sense and feel your feet touching the floor. And just staying with those sensations for a few moments. And then you might begin to feel the back of your legs and your bottom making contact with the chair. Again, really feeling into those sensations of touching. Allowing the body to settle. Maybe beginning to be aware of the spine, starting at the base, making your way up to where the last vertebra meets the head. Maybe stacking, as if you're stacking the spine so it can be tall, straight, but not tight. Being aware of the back of the neck and the shoulders as they rise up and make contact with the head, back of the head, the top of the head. And being aware of the forehead and the temples and all around the eyes, just beginning to notice and feel what's there. We're feeling into the body as sensation. Noticing and feeling the jaws. Maybe separating the teeth just a little to give some space to the jaws, to unclench them a little. In this way, we're preparing the body to sit. Maybe dropping the shoulders down and back and softening them a little. Noticing and feeling both arms. Maybe softening them. And being aware of the hands. You might stay with the feeling sensations of the hands for a little while. To experience the body as sensation, vibration. And bringing awareness now to the front of the body, the front of the torso. Maybe you begin to feel the breath moving there. And it might be helpful to take some full conscious breaths, softening the lower belly, the upper belly. And as you breathe in, maybe feeling the abdomen halfway and then bringing the breath up into the chest. You're taking a nice full in breath and allowing the out breath to be nice and long. Breathing in fully, maybe holding at the top of the inhalation. Slowly breathing out, allowing the body to begin to soften on the out breath. And when you're ready, just letting the breath come back to its natural rhythms. Just breathing naturally. At the beginning of a meditation, after you've established your posture, it can be useful to helpful to ask yourself, am I having thoughts or feelings of ill will or resentment? You're not judging yourself for that, but it's an opportunity to see how the heart mind is. You might just notice if that's present, what it's like. And if it's absent, noticing the absence of ill will or resentment. You might notice if you have any restlessness in the body and worry in the mind. Just noticing and allowing for now. You might be curious about your energy. Is it alert? Dull? Maybe there's tiredness. Maybe there's some keyed upness. You might notice if there's any wanting. You wanting anything to be different, wanting more. In this way, we're just noticing if desire is present. And then maybe you can even check in on any sense of uncertainty or doubt. So what we're really doing is we're just kind of checking in on what are called traditionally the 5 hindrances. And first we notice them. We notice if they're present or absent. And then we can begin to take care of them a little or respond to them. And this can help us be more at ease. It can help us find and settle into a peaceful heart. So if you've noticed any of these states of mind, you might take some moments on your own now to allow the breath to just move in and out of those places in the body, softening them, caring for them, relaxing them, calming them. If you've noticed any kind of agitation, any kind of fear, You might extend some loving kindness to yourself or compassion. May I feel calm. May I begin to settle and soften. May I be kind to myself. And for the next 3 minutes or so, just invite you to steady the mind and open the heart by just attending to the whole body, the sense of the whole body sitting and breathing. Being aware of breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, calming the whole body. Breathing out, calming the whole body. In these final moments, thought I would read a little, like a little poem, little poetry. Seemed like a good morning to bring love into the room, peace. So this is called No Bashful Thing by Yuli K. Love is no bashful thing. It burrows through deep places to mend and hold and believes in something much bigger and better. Love lays beside grief and brings a lantern. It does not hurry your healing, your journey, or your path towards peace. Love is no bashful thing. It listens to your heartbeat, your heartbreak, your heart song, and finds the rhythm of your spirit. And in those tragic moments where breath becomes dark and scarce and maybe unforgiving, love throws no stones, but rather aims to understand. Love is no bashful thing. It travels uphill both ways, barefoot and beautifully brave. It lessens the load. It builds a boat. It faces the wind and walks through the waves. Love is no bashful thing.
So you're taking a breath or two and coming back into connection with those around you or your home, folks on the screen. And welcome to anyone who may have joined us during the meditation after we started. And again, welcome to everyone, both in person and online. So the theme of our time together today is finding peace in the midst of everything. In a sense, it's a radical notion in that we tend to think that peace and happiness and well-being are really a product of conditions, of the right things happening and getting rid of the things that are bothering us. But the radical teaching of the Buddha and other wisdom traditions is that we can find peace, joy, freedom in the midst of everything and anything. So I want to share just some reflections on that as an understanding and really as a practice, because it is a practice itself. I often come back to and begin with a poem of Martha Postlethwaite's poem Clearing. She says, "Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is yours alone to sing falls into your open, cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. I like that, that sense of just pausing, creating a space in the busyness, in the dense forest of our lives, and just waiting, the practice of just being with, as Regina led us in the meditation, being with what's present, making space for whatever is here, and out of the stillness, out of the silence, out of just being with our experience can come insight, can come clear seeing, which is the path of our practice. And with that freedom, it's the seeing how things are, deep seeing into the way life is that leads us to freedom. So one of the, and then, from that we can go back into our lives, perhaps with a different sense and sensibility, maybe more compassion, maybe more kindness, more wisdom. So one of the central insights of the Buddha and of Buddhist teachings is that our happiness, that our peace, our well-being, our freedom are not dependent purely on conditions, on circumstances, on situations, on, luck or fortune. These are factors, they affect us. Obviously, we get some bad news, we learn something, we're going to be affected by that. But at a deepest level, that's not where freedom comes from. That's not where deepest happiness comes from. What the Buddha taught was that our happiness, our peace, our freedom crucially depend on our attitudes, on how we respond to conditions and to experiences. How we meet our experience plays a crucial role in our well-being and our happiness. Think about the difference between responding to anger or fear with awareness, how different that is than responding to anger or fear with judgment or with resistance or with more anger or more fear. With awareness, we can notice, as we did in the meditation of, oh, this is present right now. Oh, yeah, this comes and it stays and it passes. And we can, untangle ourselves really from even the most challenging and difficult experiences. But if we don't bring awareness to our experience, if we stay in unconsciousness, we just keep acting it out. We think, if I'm really angry, then that's going to get me something or get me somewhere, and if we get caught up in it, then it leads to suffering. Similarly, fear, and other challenging emotions. So what the Buddha taught was how we meet our experience actually transforms our experience. The way we meet our experience, the attitude we bring, it actually becomes a different experience. So if you're angry and you're aware of the anger, it really transforms the experience. It's very different from being angry and being swept up in it and acting it out and doing all those things. This was something that Viktor Frankl shared from his experience surviving the Auschwitz Nazi concentration camps. And many of you familiar with this. What he said, we who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts, comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a person. But one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And he says there were always choices to make, every day, every hour. offered the opportunity to make a decision which determined whether you would or would not submit to those powers which threatened to rob you of your very self, your inner freedom, which determined whether or not you became the plaything of circumstance, renouncing freedom and dignity. So even in the most dire circumstances, we can choose our response. We can choose how we meet our experience. So for the Buddha, our path to freedom comes from training the mind, recognizing that we can choose whether we move in the direction of suffering or move in the direction of happiness and well-being and freedom. He said, nothing can do you more harm than an untrained mind. Not even your worst enemy can do you more harm than an untrained mind. Nothing can do you more good than a trained mind. Not even your mother and father, not even those that love you, can do you more good than a trained mind. Nothing is more important, for the Buddha than training our mind. And the path is, in some ways, it's a very simple one, simple to state, but perhaps not so easy to do. It's a training in how we meet our experience, how we meet our experiences, how we meet our life. To see what is helpful. Is it helpful for me to stay with this experience? Or is it more helpful to, make an adjustment, make a change? So to incline our mind in the direction of what serves, what's most helpful, what leads to greater happiness and freedom. The Buddha talked about it as cultivating the good, cultivating those qualities that lead to happiness, that lead to joy, that lead to well-being. He says you can do it. If I thought you couldn't do it, I wouldn't ask you to do it. If it led to harm, I wouldn't ask you to do it. Because it leads to happiness, because it leads to well-being, I say cultivate the good, cultivate beneficial qualities, cultivate joy, peace, compassion, loving kindness, equanimity, these patience, all of these qualities, and abandon those that lead to unhappiness. If we see that, acting out fearful, stressful, worried thoughts, that's getting us caught up in contraction. Can we abandon that? Can we not push it away or judge ourselves for it, but just see, this isn't helping, this isn't serving? Can I see that thought and say, okay, can I let it go? Can I stay with the body? Can I stay with the breath? Can I stay in this moment? Abandon the unskillful and cultivate the good. And that's really the heart of our practice. The path to freeing our hearts, freeing our minds from the path to untangling the tangles of our lives is really, I think, a radical and a counterintuitive one. It kind of goes against the grain. What we tend to want to do is move towards what's pleasant, move towards what we like, push away what we don't like, space out from what we're kind of bored with, we find kind of not very interesting. But the Buddha, towards what's comfortable, towards what's convenient, towards what's habitual. But the Buddha taught that the wisdom is actually to go in another direction. And the path of training, the path of the Buddha's path of training is, I think, it's a radical one, it's a counterintuitive one. I think of it as a path of radical honesty, of turning towards our experience and saying, this moment is like this. It's not easy, it's not pleasant, it's difficult, but I'm going to be here. I'm going to stay with this experience as it is. So going against the grain, going to the roots of our experience rather than just going with the impulses and the urges, actually bringing awareness to those and say, oh, okay, I'm noticing that urge. I'm noticing that wanting to have that thing I like, or, get more angry with that politician that I don't like, push away, and like, and getting some free song of something from that experience, and say, I'm actually going to let that go. I'm going to stay, learning to stay. So much of our experience is this learning to stay. And, in the recent times, I've been reflecting on the practice and, the way it comes together for me, the path to freedom, the path to genuine freedom and genuine happiness, to untangling the tangles of our lives. For me, it kind of comes down to five steps. And what I want to do in the short time I have here for this Dharmet is just to kind of name them and say a little bit about each of them. Each of them could take the whole session talking about each of these steps. But just to name them and see that this is a path that we can cultivate, that we can train ourselves in, that really does help us to untangle the tangles of our lives, to experience freedom and the deepest happiness. The first of these steps is to turn towards our experience. With so much of our lives, we're caught up in our habits and our conditioning and really unconscious, not aware, fully aware of our experience. We're kind of acting out, our urges. We like this, we don't like this. We move towards what we like. We move away from what we don't like. And the Buddha taught that there's wisdom and there's freedom in actually kind of seeing those tendencies and choosing to turn inward, turn the attention inward. So much of the time we're on autopilot, aren't we? We're kind of going through, we've done things so many times, but we're not really fully present for our experience. So really all of our practice begins with just turning towards our experience. What am I aware of? What am I seeing? What am I noticing right now? In this moment, as I'm talking, you might just turn your attention inward. And what are you noticing? What's present right now in the body, in the heart, in the mind? There's something in that turning towards our experience, moving from the habitual, from autopilot, moving from the unconscious into awareness. We spend so much of our time unconscious, not aware of our experience. Viktor Frankl again, spoke about, he said, between the stimulus and the response is a space. In that space lies our ability to choose. And in our ability to choose lies our growth and our freedom. We can just come into that space of awareness. And that's really what mindfulness is. What am I aware of right now? In this space, this moment without judgment. And then we can choose, I don't have to keep acting out those patterns. I don't need to keep moving towards what I think is making me happy, but is actually, causing me to be contracted. Jung said, what is not brought to consciousness comes to us as fate. If we keep acting things out, then it actually becomes our life. But so this turning towards our experience, bringing awareness up to our experience, is the path, the beginning really of the path to happiness, to well-being, to joy, to freedom. James Baldwin said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. So we have to We have to face our experience. We have to turn towards it. And often the experience we're turning towards is difficult. It's not what where we want to be. I'd like to be somewhere else. I'd like to be feeling less stressed right now, or more ease, more peaceful. But we're not going to get there without starting from here. We always got to start from here. We can't kind of override it and say, oh, wishful thinking. We do that a lot of the time. We bypass our experience, but we have to come back. We have to say, okay, all right, this is what's here. It's difficult. It's painful. It's sad, or whatever it is. Can I just stay with this? Can I be with this? So that's the first step. And this is really the path of mindfulness, turning towards our experience, what the Buddha spoke of as the direct path to liberation, allowing us to see things as they truly are, rather than through our habitual, unconscious ways of thinking. And it gives that mindfulness is the direct path to insight and to freedom. So the second step, first step, turning towards our experience. The second step is to open fully and wholeheartedly to what we're experiencing. So to lots of metaphors for this. The Rumis, welcome the guests, even if they're a crowd of sorrows. Make space for our experience. Say yes to what is. Can we say yes to this moment, even if our habitual mind is saying no? Can we say yes to the no? Can we say yes to the resistance? Oh, I'm feeling resistance right now. Can I allow space for this? Dorothy Hunt's poem, the lines of peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Can everything be welcome in this moment? Tara Brach in a book speaks of radical acceptance, deep-rooted acceptance that goes to the roots. It's not bargaining kind of acceptance of, I'll stay with this pain if it's gone within 5 minutes, which is often the way our mind goes, I kind of accept, but not really accept, but really a deep-rooted acceptance of our experience. Ajahn Sumedho, the American-born Thai forest meditation teacher, used to use the expression, it's like this, this moment is like this, sadness is like this, joy is like this. This is this moment as it is. So we cultivate the intention not to leave anything out, not to push away or reject anything, difficult emotions, fear, anger, sadness, grief, opening to our experience, and grounding ourselves, particularly in the body. In the body, when we come back to the body, we're home, we're in this moment. Often our minds are somewhere else. So coming back to the body is really a foundation. In Buddhism, the first foundation of mindfulness. Opening to what's coming in from the world, the sounds, the sensations, the alarm going off, all of this, as well as to our own reactions to what's happening, making space for everything. So opening fully and wholeheartedly to our experience. And it's a training, it's a practice, it's not an easy, it's often easier said than done because we have strong habits and entrenched habits of reactivity and compulsion and aversion, resistance, etc. So training and bringing in kindness and compassion that can help us to do this, to help us to be with our experience. We need that. We need to cultivate acceptance this moment, but with really a ton of kindness, a ton of compassion towards ourselves. Acceptance, allowing, non-judgment, kindness, patience. These qualities help to create the space around our experience to help us to hold what's here, what's present. So turning towards our experience, opening wholeheartedly to what's here. The third step is to investigate and recognize when we're suffering, how and where we're suffering, turning towards our suffering. In the Pali language, the word that's translated into English as suffering is dukkha, D-U-K-K-H-A, two words kind of in the derivation of it, duk, which is D-U meaning bad, something that's unpleasant or difficult, and ka, K-H-A, the hub of a wheel. So a wheel that's not really turning properly, like wagon train, with the wheel kind of creaking and not going forward, not turning properly. So that sense of unsatisfactoriness, that's really a better translation of dukkha, I think, than suffering. The sense of things not being or working as we think they should. I don't like this. I don't want this. This should be different. The sense of sometimes it's of being tangled or hooked or stuck. In the Tibetan tradition, there's a word, Shenpa, S-H-E-N-P-A, Shenpa, which kind of is sometimes translated as attachment, but it's the better translation. Pema Chodron speaks about it is being hooked, being somehow hooked. So as Regina was leading us in the meditation, she invited us to kind of look at where we're in some way kind of tangled with our experience, where we're judging or we're feeling aversion or feeling something, unpleasant. So bring awareness to that. She talks about Shenpa as the urge, a little quote here. She says, talked about a couple of her teachers talked about Shenpa as compared it to having being afflicted with poison ivy. A teacher said, we humans are like young children who have a bad case of poison ivy. Because we want to relieve the discomfort, we automatically scratch. And it seems a perfectly sane thing to do. In the face of anything we don't like, we automatically try to escape. In other words, scratching is our habitual way of trying to get away, trying to escape our fundamental discomfort, the fundamental itch of restlessness and insecurity, or that very uneasy feeling, the feeling that something bad is about to happen. So she talked about this. This is what the Buddha speaks about as dukkha, as suffering. And so our practice is just to bring awareness to that, to our suffering in a non-judging way. This is the first noble truth, to acknowledge, oh, this is suffering. This is painful. This is difficult. I don't like this. I'm wanting it to go away. I'm finding it unpleasant. So bringing a kind, non-judging awareness to our experience, turning towards it, opening to it, and seeing where we're suffering, the first noble truth. So recognizing our suffering. The fourth step is to recognize, this is a really crucial one. They're all really important. This one is recognizing our own role in creating and perpetuating our suffering. What is our role in this? In the Buddha's teachings, when there's suffering, when there's this sense of unsatisfactoriness, there's always some way in which we're creating it, that we're kind of implicated in the suffering. The suffering is not a thing. It's not something that's solid or permanent. It's not a situation. It's a relationship. Whenever there's suffering, there's a relationship there's actually an unskillful relationship to our experience. For example, if I'm wanting a family member or a colleague at work to be acting differently, not to be sending those political messages to us that we don't like, or on social media, or saying something we disagree with, or we're wanting this pain to be gone, or wanting something we don't have, or wanting, a new job or a new relationship. It's not the problem that we're wanting something. clinging that's the problem. It's that holding on is the craving. This, the Buddha said, is the cause of suffering. It's the clinging, the wanting, the craving that is the cause of suffering, that creates the suffering. This is the Buddha's second noble truth, that suffering is caused by clinging. It's how we're relating to our experience that is causing the suffering. You know, you've probably heard the saying, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. You know, we will experience something is difficult. You know, we're cold, we're wet, we're hungry. You know, it's not what we wanted. Something sad, we got some sad news or difficult news. That's the first arrow. That's the pain. The second arrow, you know, is when we add something to it. This shouldn't be here. I don't like this. I don't want this. I want it to be different. So we add the second or third or fourth arrow, judging ourselves for our pain or for feeling a particular way, getting angry with ourselves. So the fourth step is to recognize our own role in our suffering, recognizing that we're in some way we're in an unskillful relationship to our experience. And when we see this, we can begin to let go. We can see we're holding, and we can actually see that it's causing us suffering. You know, it's like holding a hot coal, burning us, but we're so used to holding it that we keep holding on. But when we see clearly, this is actually leading to unhappiness, it's not leading to well-being, then we can let it go. You know, the more clearly we see it, the more we can drop it, we can let go. And this is the fifth step. Seeing clearly into how we're holding on, how we're clinging, actually creates the conditions for letting go of clinging. And this is the third of the four noble truths, is that we can let go. Seeing clearly leads to letting go and to freedom. The willingness to be with the suffering, with the difficulty, with the pain, with the mental story, with the resistance, opening to it all, opening to what Zorba the Greek called the full catastrophe. Opening to everything creates the conditions for letting go. And this is how Pema Chodron, talking about, you know, how we work with this Shempa, this being hooked. You know, she talks about wanting things to be different, judging our meditation, thinking we've had a good meditation, we think that's great, we want more of it. We have a bad meditation, we think it was horrible meditation. And she said, but it wasn't bad, it was just what it was. Because of Shempa, you get attached to a self-image of failure. That's where it gets sticky. And she says, the sad part is that all we're trying to do is not feel that underlying uneasiness. The sadder part is that we proceed in such a way that the uneasiness only gets worse. The message here is that the only way to ease our pain is to experience it fully. The only way to ease our pain is to experience it fully. Learn to stay with uneasiness, learn to stay with the tightening, learn to stay with the itch and urge of Shempa, of that hook, so that the habitual chain reaction doesn't continue to rule our lives, and the patterns that we consider unhelpful don't keep getting stronger as the days and months and years go back. Someone once sent me a bone-shaped dog tag that you could wear on a cord around your neck. Instead of a dog's name, it said, sit, stay, heal. And heal was H-E-A-L. Sit, stay, heal. We can heal ourselves and the world by training in this way. So just as a kind of an overview, an outline of how we work with our experience, you know, I offer you these five steps of turning towards our experience, opening wholeheartedly to what's present, opening to the suffering, investigating where we're hooked, where we're suffering, looking at our own role. What is our own role in perpetuating, creating and perpetuating our suffering, and then learning that we can let go, seeing that we can let go of the suffering by seeing clearly. So thank you, and I think I went on a little bit longer than I intended to, but that's par for the course. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your attention, and you, Regina.
You. So in the remaining time, the next 7 minutes or so, we're happy to take questions, or perhaps you'd just like to share something maybe in the talk that stirred you, was interesting or was helpful, something you might be more curious about. And just in the interest of time, I'd just like to remind us all to try to be brief in our sharing, and that way as many of you as possible can get an opportunity. And so what I find helps with that is just to just take a moment before I speak and think, oh, what is it that I most want to say or to ask about? So thank you. Oh, we have someone? Okay.
I'm just walking this around.
Okay, so Nick has the mic, if you'd like to.
Hi, it's on? Yes, it's on. My question is, when you say stay with it, let's say you wake up in the middle of the night and your mind is going full speed ahead. Is the idea you just stay in bed with all those thoughts until somehow they disappear?
Great. So do you just stay with, do you wake up in the middle of the night with all thoughts and anxious thoughts, etc.? Do you just stay with the thoughts? What I would say is just, it's not to stay with the thoughts, it's to bring awareness to the thoughts. So the habitual pattern is just to follow the thoughts. That's what we're caught up in. That's what we've done so many times, that we're thinking and we're having more thoughts, and our fearful thoughts are creating more fearful thoughts and more anxious thoughts, and we just keep following them. So the practice is staying is not just saying, oh, I'm just going to follow my thoughts. It's I'm going to bring awareness to my thoughts and to see that I don't need to follow my thoughts. I can be aware and say, okay, that's part of me trying to take care of myself, trying to look after myself. But is it the most helpful thing to do to just keep ruminating and thinking and worrying, or to just let the thought go and stay with the bodily feelings? And the more we can stay with the breath, stay with the feelings, let them come and go, ride the waves of our experience. Notice when we get pulled into thoughts again, come back again. Working in that way, that's really the learning to stay. Sometimes we may be helpful to, take some deeper breaths. There's different things that we could do. We might walk around for a few minutes. And it's not that we just, there's one thing that we do, but just to bring awareness to our present moment experience, and to choose to not just go wherever the mind goes. Anything you add to that, Regina?
Well, I think what I'm hearing Hugh say too is that in the mind training part of the path, there's mindfulness and there's also concentration, but sometimes we don't talk. I know Hugh has taught on it a great deal, but there's a part of the mind training is wise effort. And so in that moment, I think my understanding of Pema Chodron would be that the invitation there would be to really come back to the body, to drop in to the body, because the body is always in the now, right? The body is in the present moment. The body's in the now. The thoughts are in the now too, but they take us away from the feeling sense. And so my take on her is that what her teaching is that she's really saying, rather than just go with all the thinking like you always do, right? Bring the attention gently, very softly back and drop it into the body and be curious and investigate, like, where do I feel this the strongest? Are there parts of me that don't like this, right? Because then you're picking up on what Hugh was talking about with the clinging and the craving, is because then you can see that, oh, maybe I'm afraid of it. I might be afraid of this feeling. I might really not, there might be aversion to it. Or and then you can maybe soften around that, even softening, that's that secondary, the add-on there that's creating the antagonistic relationship. Right? Yeah. Okay. Yes, there's somebody online? Okay. Oh, okay.
Is somebody, you want to go online?
Okay. Hi. Hi. This is Debbie Sue. And thank you, Hugh, for your talk. I wanted to say I find that very helpful when I'm dealing with emotional pain, but when it's intense physical pain, dropping into my body is very hard. And I have a lot of trouble when it's physical. And I wish you could share something on that. Also, I'd like to know which book you were reading by Pema. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. So the book is Taking the Leap, Pema Chodron, Taking the Leap, Freeing Ourselves from Old Habits and Fears. So like many of Pema's books, it's not a thick book. It's like 80 or so, 90 pages, but it's really a gem. You know, like the places that scare us and things fall apart. And when, you know, she's a wonderful teacher. I would just name, I really hear what you're saying about working with physical pain, Debbie Sue. I think a place to start is just with compassion, self-compassion, and recognizing, yeah, this is hard, it's not easy. So cultivating self-compassion, I think, is a really important starting point. And we teach quite a bit on self-compassion, and you know, it's become much, you know, a very, very important area. I mean, it's already in the teachings, but particularly in the last 15 years with the science and the research that's been done on self-compassion, it's really flowered in the last 10, 15 years. Two ways of working with pain that are kind of opposite ends of the spectrum that can be helpful. One is to really go into the pain, you know, go into underneath the label of the pain, into the direct experience, and stay as much as possible with the sensations, and notice the changing sensations, because a lot of the pain that we have, a lot of the difficulty with the pain is the resistance that we add to the pain. You know, we put a wall around it. We don't want to go there. We think, oh, it's too much. So the more we can actually go into the direct, you know, phenomenological experience, this is, oh yeah, this is squeezing, this is pinching, this is tightness, this is heat, this is piercing, you know, whatever it is, and stay. And, you know, the metaphor I like is of riding the waves, you know, because like anything, pain, you know, and difficult emotions tend to come, stay for a while and pass. They'll have their crescendos, they'll have their ebbs and flows. And in doing that, in kind of riding the waves, we're kind of untangling ourselves from the solidification, from the story of this is a solid thing that I don't like and I don't want, and it's difficult. Even, that's not an easy practice, but that's one way is to go in and really work with that in that way. The other is to kind of go in the other direction and kind of zoom out and to kind of see what, when we're caught up in pain, we tend to think it's the only thing in the world. If it's really intense or chronic, like, we're not noticing anything else. Similarly with strong, difficult emotions, we get kind of pulled into it. But if we can see, okay, yeah, I can experience this, but I can perhaps also experience another part of my body that isn't feeling pain, another part of my experience where there's maybe some sense of ease or well-being. So in that way, we're kind of broadening the field, expanding our experience so that we're not denying it or pushing it away, but we're seeing it in that larger context. And that sometimes can be helpful. So exploring those two different ways can be helpful, and also just with a lot of self-compassion. I hope that's useful. And anything you...
No, that's...
So thank you, Debbie Sue. And Kirsten, yeah.
The question, the question I have is that, when you recognize what your part in it, how do you not do the second arrow? How do you not create more suffering? Because I that's my habit.
Yeah.
So just for clarification, are you saying that so something happens, you notice your part in it, and then you get, what happens? So you start getting really self-critical.
Yeah.
Right. And what have you done so far? What work have you found? Anything that helps you a little?
Self-compassion.
Yes, I was going to say that sounds.
Self-compassion, friends.
Yes.
And it's kind of like the same suggestion of, I know, sorry. Self-compassion, friends, and actually Hugh's suggestion about finding that place in your body that doesn't hurt. It's also thinking about what's good in your life.
Yes. So bringing
Because
in,
once again,
yeah.
this beating up is not all consuming, right? It's not everything.
Yes. And maybe in that moment too, the self-compassion just strikes me as really helpful, right? Because when that inner critic comes in, it's painful.
Right.
And if that is some conditioning that you have, then and it can be very, very painful. So I think this, the bringing the antidote already, the remedy of compassion to it is really helpful. And chances are that's not how you've related to it in the past.
Right.
Right. The other thing also, it occurs to me that just to be aware that that's, to bring the mindfulness to, that's another train of thought. And to even a little investigation, what might that train of thought, what would be the purpose of that line of thinking? What might it be trying to accomplish? Right. And that's, you could just use a little bit of mindfulness, investigation, along with compassion.
Yeah, if I can have a conversation with it a lot of the time, it's super helpful.
Right, and that's kind of to use
like, what are you trying to tell me?
Right? A little bit of untangling there.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and that increases the awareness because now you're not so identified with it, right? You're not so fused with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just say, just add, just be aware of that. I think Regina said it, just be aware of that second arrow when it comes up. Oh yeah, that is, I'm adding this. I'm judging myself here. Can I meet this with kindness? So the awareness, the practice, one way of looking at it is to make the container of awareness, or let the container of awareness be large enough to include whatever comes up.
Yeah.
The mind tends to come back like to, okay, this is the final word, I'm the director of this movie, and to see, oh, there's the director. Okay, can we just give some space to the director of the movie, the person who thinks they're directing the movie, so that everything can be included. Oh, I hate this experience. I hate this practice. Oh, notice the hating. Can I bring kindness to the hating of the practice, the resistance to the practice? So, including everything.
Mm,
Well, and that's the hard part, right? Is pushing away, like a lot of mine lately has been anger. And
mm,
our tendency is to push anger away because it's not good.
Right,
You should
not
feel
included.
anger.
Very good. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
when,
Thank
do you want to take one more? And
Yeah,
then-
that's
okay.
okay.
My experience is that when I'm investigating and feeling how this is in my body, whatever the challenge is to ask myself if there's a belief underlying that,
Mm,
and not to expect that there is. It's okay that there might not be. I don't want to let the director insist on some, finding some belief, because that's sort of cerebral, but just to gently ask that, because that sometimes uncovers conditioning, my role in it, and it actually can help with self-compassion.
mm,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right. There was so much we're caught up in our stories and our beliefs, and if we can be aware of that, that can be really a path, I think, to letting go. Thanks for sharing that.
Yes.
Mm.
I know, I've always liked Sharon Salzberg when she would find a belief like that. She asked that another question about is this helpful? Is this skillful? Coming back to, wise effort, where we're just making a note. Is this helpful? Is this onward leading to believe this? So that can sometimes, in my experience, it's like it unhooks a little bit more. Right. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to finish off the morning part of our session today. Like to thank everyone who's been with us online. Thank you for your practice and your participation today and your kindness. Just mention, excuse me, as we do that there's a cost to the in-person, but those online, just invited if you're able to do so, and if you're inclined to make a donation. I think the way of doing so should be online. And thank you for your support. This is a tradition that's come down through 2,500 years of dana or generosity. So thank you for being with us today. We'll be back class online next Sunday, and Emily will lead us now in some movement. And thanks to everyone. Thank you, Glenn,
Thank you
for your wonderful support as always.
Yes,
and,
thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Yes.
everyone. Thank you, Regina.
Thank you.
All right. First of all, if you can stretch out or find a space to stretch out, yeah. Hi. Just embrace this space. Just drawing in a breath, deep breath in. Exhale. Yeah, soften your shoulders. And then soften your elbows. Come into cactus arms. And everybody, this is your, all right, yep. Choose a hand. Okay, choose the left hand. Choose your left hand. Your left hand, not mine. Okay. And then exhale to the left. Good. Back to center. Exhale to the right. Back to center. To the left. Back to center. And to the right. Back to center. Now we're going to be scarecrows, holding your elbows up. Exhale, drop your hands. Inhale, rise. Exhale, dropping down. Inhale, rise up. Extend your arms out. take a look at your left palm. Right palm stays down, and on an inhale, switch to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left, and to the right. Drop your hands down, roll your shoulders independently, have a dance if you'd like. Roll them the other way. Now come to center, place your hands above your knee. Actually, restart. Think about the hip crease, where your hips meet your legs. This is where we're going to bend. So bending at the hip crease, extend your hips back. Think about your balance here. Flat back, straight line from the base of your spine out. Holding here, breathing in, and exhale, lowering down. You don't have to go far. You don't have to touch your toes or the floor. We're just comfortable. Dropping down, taking a breath, and you might lift a little and reset. Wise effort, allowing your body to hang. Hanging down. Deep breath in again, lifting a little. Exhale, lowering. You can support your hands on your legs if you'd like. And now we're going to take your hands above your knees. Tuck under your tailbone. Draw your navel to your spine. Now lift up, stacking each vertebrae. Rising, take your time. Inhale as you shift your shoulders up. Exhale, come on down. Yeah, shake it up. Shaking. Good. This is really fun. All right. Yeah. Bit more shoulder move here. Clasp your hands behind your back. All right. And press on your feet or stamp just a little. Okay. You know your feet, you know the earth, you know the ground. Inhale again, lifting your chest up. And exhale, lower your hands down below your waist. Allow those shoulder blades to gather. Relax and bring the hands back to the waist. Once again, inhale, lifting up. Exhale, drawing your hands, your shoulder blades together, your hands down. Back to the waist. Float your arms up. Flying. Now roll your shoulders. Roll them the other way. All right, and come to center. Just for a moment, find your mountain pose. Pick something to stare at. Horizon line. All right, we're going to just finding balance in the midst of this. Just for a moment, you don't have to draw your leg up high. Just think about shifting your weight, drawing one heel up, and it doesn't have to be a formal tree. You can just lift a leg, standing, dropping your toe down if you want to. You want to be balanced in the midst of this. And then fly, 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 fly. We're going to do the other side. One side will be better, right? All right. So find your feet, Find your focal point that's not moving, not somebody else. All right. And rise, stand, shifting to one leg, finding your balance, knowing you have equanimity here. Softening with an exhale to stand. You can always drop down. There's no judgment or reason to judge. And come on down, shake it out. Ooh, this is a tough grip. All right. All right, one more time, raise your arms up. Exhale, soften your shoulders. I forgot this part. Grasp your left wrist in your right hand. Extend out over to one side. Inhale up. Switch wrists, extending out. Inhale up, float your arms down, and then we're going to raise them again. Palms together, holding here. Drawing your hands to your heart. Turn it out to the group. Just look around, sharing, noticing. Dropping your hands towards the earth, noticing your center, how you can center in the earth, and then whoosh, the fun part. One more time, down to your heart, out to the group, down to the earth, and whoosh. And now down to the heart. Take a bow. You guys are so wonderful. Thank you.